So let's get on to the nitty-gritty of the class. This parsha is Parshat Pinchas, and right in the beginning, we read the story. And let me give the background to the story. So last week, Balaam, who was an anti-Semite, who hated the Jews, tried to curse the Jews. And instead of cursing them, God put in his mouth only blessings. And he gave blessings, tremendous blessings to Israel. Some of his blessings are about the Messiah, about Mashiach. Amazing, amazing blessings. But when his ideas, his advice didn't work, his curses didn't work, Balaam gave Balak advice. He says, God of the Jews hates immorality. If you can seduce the Jewish men, if you can send your girls, your daughters, to seduce the Jewish men, you will see God hates it and he will kill them. That's what he said. So he wanted basically shidduchim, right? Shidduchim, marriage proposals. You know, this week I had such a funny story. I tried my hand in shidduchim. You know, I dabble in shidduchim once in a while. So I went to a certain place. I'm not going to mention the name of the place. And I meet a boy there. And I get into a conversation with him. And right away, the boy is 23 years old. Wow, he really impresses me. And I know his family. His grandparents used to work in our Chabad Center, so I know them very well. Righteous people, like good people. You know, you have people who don't have a bad bone in their body, like good people. And the parents, I learned from the father in yeshiva 30 years ago. I know him, just good people. I know the siblings of this guy. I don't know the guy well, it's the first time meeting him, but I see he's got the same, same thing. And I'm thinking in my head, thinking, whenever I see a boy or girl, I'm like thinking, who? And I said, OMG, I have a perfect shidduch for this guy. My niece, and I already think that the two families also, I know they know each other. They know each other, of each other, and they, like I know where in our Chabad house they overlapped at a certain time. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, it's perfect. They have the same personalities. They have the same values. They share the same ideals. The families are going to be a clique. Like I'm already thinking they're going to have their first date, second date, the third date, the fifth date, they'll be engaged. 6 weeks later, our wedding. I'm already thinking where the wedding is going to be. I'm going to fly out for the wedding. I had it all planned in my head. And as I'm leaving this boy, I right away get into my car and I call the girl's parents first. The girl's father I'm very close with, obviously, is my brother-in-law. I say to him, we'll call him Jack. Actually, we'll call him Yankel because he's probably got more of a name like that. Yankel! Have I got a shidduch for your daughter? Let's do the wedding. Tell him, it doesn't matter. They don't even need a date. Let's do the wedding. It's a match made in heaven. As we know, there are two. The soul was one in heaven, and the soul came down, split into two, one half here, one half there, and everybody has a soulmate. I said, this is it. This is your daughter's soulmate. So he hears the name. He says, wow, interesting. Do you know the boy? I said, I don't know the boy. You could do Google, you could do research, you can find out from his friends. Today you could go on AI, ask AI who this guy is, whatever you want to find out. He says, looks very interesting, find out is the other side interested. Fine. My next phone call, I call the guy's, family. And I said to them, have I got a girl for your son? It's a match made in heaven. It's my niece. So the guy's listening, and I'm rambling away, and he cuts me off in the middle. He says, there's only one issue here. The boy is engaged. And he's going to be married in a few weeks. And I think to myself, well, slight issue. Yes, that is a small technical problem. My niece will not go for it. She will not go for an engaged man, even though halachically it's no problem, by the way. Like halachically, no problem for a man to marry as many women as he wants. But by the way, the point is never stop trying. If you think you know somebody for somebody, it's a great mitzvah, try it out. Just try and try and try, and eventually you will succeed. Because everybody has a soulmate out there. So, your soulmate is Jewish, right? Nobody else. But Balaam, what he tried to do is get the Jews to be seduced. So what did he do? They had a brilliant plan. The Jews in the desert, what did they do all day long? They studied Torah and they prayed. But even when you study Torah, you need a little bit of a few-minute break. So when they had their few-minute break, they got old ladies to set up wares in their tents, like set all this tchotchke to sell them. And so when the Jews had a little break, they went over to see what's going on. It looks very innocent, all the ladies, Anyway, they looked inside the thing, and all the ladies said, "Oh, you want some good stuff, some much better stuff? Go inside the tent. There's much cheaper stuff in there." And inside the tent, there would be these young girls, Midianite and Moabite women, and the Jews, before you know it, they had sinned with the girls, and they had also served an idol called the Peor. Very good, Peor. By the way, the Torah says they came to Peor, and it was full. Peor, there was a place called Shittim, and Shittim was a spring. And when you were there in Shittim drinking from the spring, it was a place which was like immorality. It drew you to immorality. Now we find in the Torah different places that draw you to different sins. Like for example, in a place called Gilad, Nefishi Roitzchim, there were a lot of murderers in Gilad. The Gilad was, there were cities of refuge, right? 6 cities of refuge that Moses established. 3 cities of refuge were in Israel proper, and 3 cities of refuge were outside the Jordan, where 2.5 tribes were. Now the question is, the cities of refuge were for people who killed, for murders, right? So there were 2.5 tribes outside of Israel and 9.5 tribes inside Israel. So the math doesn't work. Why wouldn't you put 5 cities of refuge inside Israel where 9.5 tribes were, where most of Israel were, and 1 city of refuge outside Israel? No, you put 3 and 3. Why? Because the other side of the Jordan was where Gilad was. There were a lot of murderers.